Donald's coming to set you free, bringing the light for all to see. No more tunnels, no more fear. Trump Gaza is finally here. Trump Gaza shining bright, golden future, a brand new light. Feast and dance, the deal is done. Trump Gaza #1. Trump Gaza shining bright, golden future, a brand new light. Feast and dance, the deal is done. Trump Gaza #1.
That's tomorrow, and that is it for us today. Okay, I don't know, whatever it is, it's not right on the teleprompter. I don't know what that is. I've never seen that.
No, there it is. We are going to do Sting, yeah.
Okay, but
Okay.
now I can't read it. There's no words on it.
Okay. Ready? Sure.
There's no words there. To play us out. What does that mean? To play us out.
Sting is going to do, it's a video, Sting video. Okay.
What is...
For credits.
I don't know what that means, to play us out. What does that mean? To end the show?
Yeah, yeah.
All right, go.
In 5, 4, 3.
That's tomorrow, and that is it.
Okay, in 5, 4, 3.
That's tomorrow, and that is it for us today. And we will leave you with a... I can't do it.
Okay.
We'll do it live.
Okay. No.
We'll do it live. Fuck it. Do it live. I'll write it, and we'll do it live.
Right.
Fucking thing sucks.
In 5, 4, 3.
That's tomorrow, and that is it for us today. I'm Bill O'Reilly. Thanks again for watching. We'll leave you with Sting and a cut off his new album. Take it away.
Every moment wants to feel brand new. Every moment I'm alone with you. Carry on when it starts to feel this way. Up ahead there's something worth the wait. And you're miles away from it all, but I don't care. I'm still singing, 'cause you make me feel less small. You are the wave beneath it all. You lift me when I fall down. As I go, carry hope, it won't be long. We'll make an ocean of this song, and I'll sail where the wind blows now. Towards you, towards you. It's hard to see the bed you're lying in, where the covers stop and you begin. All I know is I wanna be there too, a silhouette in the perfect shape of you. And we're miles away from it all, but I don't care. I'm still singing, 'cause you make me feel less small. You are the wave beneath it all. You lift me when I fall down. As I go, carry hope, it won't be long. We'll make an ocean of this
Good morning, everybody. Happy Sunday, March. Yes, it's finally March 2nd. The time is now 9:48 a.m. and we are live. We've got so much to cover. Thank you so much for tuning in. Hey, listen, we don't have t-shirts for sale. We don't have coffee mugs. We're not grifters. We don't have any way for you to join or to donate. But what we do ask here is that you share this content on social media. We need your help. We got so much truth to get out today. You are going to be shocked. Maybe you won't be shocked when you hear what I'm going to reveal and share with the world about Trump and Epstein's actual true relationship. But first, we're going to start off with some spirituality, okay? It's time to be liberated. It's time for liberation of yourself, okay? The mind that isn't aware of its thoughts actually becomes an enemy to its master. Practicing witnessing thoughts rather than letting them consume you. Be the observer, not only of the world outside, but also more importantly, the one within. Pause, observe, and return to yourself. Soon, you'll realize that you've been battling shadows for far too long, and it's actually time to live. Do you witness the observer? Your conscience. That is who you are eternally, not these supposed quote-unquote physical bodies or avatar suits that we dwell in. It's our consciousness, our heart, our feelings, our thoughts. This is who we are eternally, and we need to focus on it. We need to pay attention to the things that we think, say, and how we feel. It's very important. Being left out, though, actually isn't the end of the world. It's how angels protect you from troubles that you cannot see. The pain of exclusion is actually just temporary, but the peace of enlightenment will be eternal. We are eternal beings couched within quote-unquote physical avatars here inside this virtual reality, and you need to understand that maybe you're in a place where it's just you right now, but that's not always going to be the case. Nothing is quite as it appears. What seems to be solid physical reality is in fact a complex system of vibrating energies. What our eyes actually see are dancing patterns that we recognize as objects or living creatures. We are actually connected with what we see by pulsing waves of light and energy, connected through sound. And that's why here we try to bring out brand new music. Each and every week we love to bring out new music, and the music that we choose to take the power back from the satanic music industry, as well as the satanic fake media and the satanic fake alt media. Here we just bring the facts, the information, and we put it out there. And we try to do it as clean and in such a fun way that you can share this with just about anybody. So let's go to another news song and let's jump into the news of the week. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are. Thank you for tuning in. You are the Resistance. Ryan with favorite band. Come on, let's get into this. Like I said, we've got so much to do. And by the way, if you drink coffee, please get your own coffee beans and grind them yourself. Okay, because they're actually putting cockroaches and all kinds of other crazy stuff inside the already ground coffee. We really don't want that, but let's get into this. We've got this new segment that they're doing here in the White House here. They're calling it the MAGA Minute. Again, I want everybody to know that MAGA is the fifth and highest degree of the Church of Satan. But let's get into this. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening.
It was another historic week at the White House. Let's break it all down in the MAGA Minute. President Trump showed the world what American strength looks like when he stood up for the American people to President Zelensky during their meeting in the Oval Office. Massive corporations announced new investments and jobs in the United States. Following President Trump's 10% tariff on China, Apple announced it will spend more than $500 billion and hire 20,000 American workers over the next 4 years. Pharmaceutical company Eli Lilly announced an investment of $27 billion to build 4 new manufacturing plants in the United States. On the border, the administration has officially deported more than 50,000 illegal immigrants from our country, a 627% increase in monthly arrests under Joe Biden. Mexico also extradited 29 vicious and violent cartel criminals to the United States to face their long-awaited justice. And the president signed an executive order to make the prices of medical services more transparent, unlocking huge healthcare savings opportunities for you, the American people. And lastly, we took a historic step towards restoring your trust in the mainstream media by saying the White House Correspondents Association is no longer going to decide who gets to go into the Oval Office and fly on Air Force One. New media is traveling with the president, covering this president. It was a great week, and we'll see you next time for the MAGA Minute.
So the MAGA Minute. So new media, and we got a call out here. They've got, what do they got? The obelisk here in the shot. Again, this is Egyptian, Babylonian lore and Freemasonic symbolism, right? Which is actually just a continuation of the Canaanite stuff. They've got her out there. The new media. So what they do is they dress up. So they've moved into the new era of social media. And this is one where they use quote unquote regular people to convince you that the things that they're saying are trustworthy and honest. They use props like dogs. You'll see this common thread throughout social media. Whenever you see someone who's using a dog in their videos, when they've got clips of an animal with them, you are actually a target of mind control. So that's the MAGA Minute. We're going to try to keep up to date with that. And then earlier in the podcast, if you tuned into the intro, we've showed this new AI Trump Gaza video, which is just really odd. Interesting here. I guess it was made in Australia, a funny shaped version of it. But here, this is the new video that's going shared around here, where it takes the war-torn, destroyed Gaza, and they're turning it into, this is some creepy Elon Musk. They've got men here in this section of the Trump Gaza video, men, transgender men dancing, right, on the beaches. Everything's okay, very Muslim influence, which is very odd. They've got gold Trump Nebuchadnezarism. Trying to make it beautiful. Here's Trump in there. They got money everywhere. This is what they're selling. Trump Gaza. Again, Elon eating. Here's more idolatrous golden statues like the one that's actually on tour right now in the United States of America. There's Trump and Bibi getting down by the pool. Again, the video that they created here was 33 seconds long. And here we've got lots of Baphomet symbolism, lots of Satanism, as always. This is making the rounds. I just thought, what a crazy world we live in. This is what people want to do with the AI tool. They want to make stuff like that. We've got people are arguing that Elon Musk is actually leading the country, not Trump. But here he is in this cabinet meeting that took place. We've got tons, again, of Babylonian Freemasonic symbolism everywhere, included in this cabinet meeting, with the sconces being the supposed rising from the ashes Phoenix type symbolism, as well as the eagle holding the light, right? But here we've got Musk addressing them as he's quote unquote tech support. We're going to get into what tech support actually is.
Thank you, Mr. President. I actually just call myself a humble tech support here, because this is actually, as crazy as it sounds, that is almost a literal description of the work that the Doge team is doing, is helping fix the government computer systems. Many of these systems are extremely old. They don't communicate. There are a lot of mistakes in the systems. The software doesn't work. So we are actually tech support. It's ironic, but it's true. The overall goal here with the Doge team is to help address the enormous deficit. We simply cannot sustain as a country $2 trillion deficits. The interest rates, just the interest on the national debt, now.
Just to let everybody know, so when the coronavirus took place, right, they printed up $6 trillion. Listen, they can just invent anything. The Federal Reserve is backed by nothing, right? The whole Fort Knox scam and scheme. We'll get into that a little bit more later on in the third segment of the news program. But they just invent numbers in a computer screen, right? They don't have anything backing it. It's a complete monopoly. The whole entire thing is fake, rigged, and a sham. But Elon has to come out here and make these concessions and speeches as they're trying to actually do something to litigate or to plug the gaping dam hole of the American trillions and upon trillions of debt they'd never be able to actually pay. We should have already been in the greatest recession in the history of mankind.
Now exceeds the Defense Department's spending. We spend a lot on the Defense Department, but we're spending like over $1 trillion on interest. If this continues, the country will become de facto bankrupt. It's not an optional thing, it is an essential thing. That's the reason I'm here. and taking a lot of flack, and getting a lot of death threats, by the way. I mean, I like to stack them up, you know.
I mean, come on. Does anyone believe that anyone's going to actually try to kill Elon Musk? It's the same thing as the fake assassination attempt on Trump.
But if we don't do this, America will go bankrupt. That's why it has to be done. And I'm confident at this point, knock on wood, you know, knock on my wooden head, there's got a lot of wood up there, that we can actually find $1 trillion in savings.
So they're going to try to find $20 trillion of savings, as well as we won't mention Trump is now selling citizenship for $5 million. We live in such a disgusting society now where the rich are being selected and the poor are being destroyed. But is Elon Musk also leading the military?
Campaigned across this country with Elon Musk, vowing that Elon was going to head up the Department of Government Efficiency, and the two of them with the...
So does anybody else find it interesting that Doge in Latin translates to leader or military commander? Well, that makes sense that this guy right here is in charge of Doge, while coincidentally the name Donald means world ruler or the great chief. You can't make this up. So right here you have two peas in a pod conjoined at the hip, where you have Mr. World Leader and the military commander. Well, this all makes sense after seeing this today, where we had Donald Trump tweeting this, how the false prophet is doing a great job, but I would like to see him get more aggressive. And up top we can see the response from the military commander: "Will do, Mr. President." And of course, as we can see right here from this propaganda account, the false prophet and his Doge team after President Trump's order to go super aggressive. The false prophet, quote, "At my signal, unleash hell." It really seems like a cool guy that cares. And you know what, on top of that, I wanted to point out another propaganda account right here, Doge Designer, and how he put it out there, how Doge, spelled backwards, is E-God, which makes me think of this.
We'll have digital God, so ask digital God at that point. Perhaps that's where our new God will come from.
Yeah, no.
So you have the guy who is pushing for a digital God who has the full support of the ruler of the world. Nothing to see here, guys. So with that, guys, you can come to your own conclusion. We are living in crazy times, and they like to show you exactly who they are.
Now, you know, it's very important to talk about, we've been calling this out for 4 years now, if not longer, that when Elon Musk bought Twitter, he was fulfilling prophecy by being the dragon who gives the power back unto the beast. And the whole world marvels after them. And the dragon is able to do lying signs and wonders, putting fire up into the sky and back down onto the earth. Exactly what Elon Musk has been doing. The two of them very, very well have crafted together a very, very satanic 2025. And he brought up this meme here, and it does seem Elon Musk and his Dodge team, after President Trump's order to go super aggressive at my signal, their signal, unleash hell. And really, that's what they're doing. Right. And so we've got all these layoffs, and we've had people ask us questions, you know, is this real? Are they actually doing this? And I actually think, yes, they are trimming the fat. They are bringing in anything automated. There's a lot of waste and a lot of people. So it's easier to control an AI system than it is a group of people, especially ones that might have, you know, collusion or evidence or anything against you. You want to eliminate them and those people as soon as possible.
I think that email perhaps was misinterpreted as a performance review, but actually it was a pulse check review. Do you have a pulse? Do you have a pulse? And
so everybody's freaking out. Elon Musk he sent an email to all the federal employees asking them to provide evidence of what they did last week. And I mean, this isn't really that much of a crazy ask, really. People sometimes have to write down, and they have to dictate each and every task that they complete and every single day. So for someone to just have to respond, it doesn't seem like it's that big of a job. But what they're actually doing is creating an automated AI system, and they're starting to engage with their employees, and this obviously is going to have really negative connotations added to it.
So if you have a pulse and 2 neurons, you can reply to an email. This is, you know, I think not a high bar, is what I'm saying. This is, should be, anyone could accomplish this. But what we are trying to get to the bottom of is we think there are a number of people on the government payroll who are dead, which is probably why they can't respond. And some people who are not real people, like they're literally fictional individuals that are collecting paychecks. Well, somebody's collecting paychecks on a fictional individual. So we're just literally trying to figure out, are these people real? Are they alive? And can they write an email? Which I think is a reasonable expectation for the American public would have at least that expectation of someone in the public sector.
So basically, they've got an AI program trying to go around and find who's real or alive in such a weird sense. And this is causing backlash. It's causing people to break down. Here we've gotten some of the beginnings of the ramifications of these layoffs, this Doge taking down the government, the people that are not doing anything.
Can you tell us what your message is to these senators while we're walking?
I think it's really cruel to fire people for poor performance when they've only had great feedback. We've never had an issue with our performance, and we're doing work for the American public. We're here for safety. And we're patriots. We love our country. That's why we're taking these jobs that don't pay us in the private sector. I'm an accountant. I could get a private sector job tomorrow, but
we are starting to see people coming out and they're not happy with their layoffs. There's the filings for unemployment. Everything is skyrocketing. And if you do the deep research into it, which we're not going to get into today, we've got a lot to cover, you're going to find that this is going to have serious economic ramifications. There is going to be disastrous amounts of recessions. This is not a good thing for the economy. When you have a super large amount of the workforce not able to generate income or work, you're going to have a lot of people on the poverty list. And we're going to continue to track that as close as possible. But back into the first meeting that they're having here,
NATO,
the cabinet.
Forget about. I think that's probably the reason the whole.
So now we're switching over into the war between the quote-unquote war. It's a hoax. They've used inflatable planes, inflatable tanks. We've extensively gone through this here on the Rumble channel, and if you've searched and found the Awake Souls Rumble channel, you'll see War as a Hoax. There's 3-4 parts to it where we go through and break down exactly how the Freemasons and other secret societies like the Vatican and the Knights Templar and all that, they work together to fool you. And what they actually do with all of this war symbolism is make everything expensive. They take out their enemies through business, through meetings and economic tariffs and other types of ways that they wage war. They're not actually men on battlefields shooting at each other with guns. It's all fake.
Whole thing started. And I think, JD, we can say that. Do you have a statement on that? You've been very much involved. I gave him the beauty.
Great. Maybe the hardest question, sir. I mean, look, as the president said, we're not going to do the negotiation in public with the American media. He's going to do it in private with the president of Russia, with the president of Ukraine, and with other leaders. And I think that's how this has to go. I think I just want to push back against some of the criticism I've seen of the administration on this, because every single time the president engages in diplomacy, you guys preemptively accuse him of conceding to Russia. He hasn't conceded anything to anyone. He's doing the job of a diplomat, and he is, of course, the diplomat in chief as the President of the United States.
A diplomat and chief. He's a would-be 2-bit mobster playing king. And of course, we had this staged, scripted, all actors on the set. Like, could you get more of a set here? Like, lights, camera, action.
Not the kind of diplomacy that's going to end the destruction of your country.
Yes, but if you
Mr. President, with respect, I think it's disrespectful for you to come into the Oval Office and try to litigate this in front of the American media. Right now, you guys are going around and forcing conscripts to the front lines because you have manpower problems. You should be thanking the president for trying to bring it into this conflict.
Have you ever been to Ukraine? Did you see what problems we have?
I have been to. I've actually watched and seen the stories, and I know what happens is you bring them on a propaganda tour, Mr. President. Do you disagree that you've had problems bringing people in your military? And do you think that it's respectful to come to the Oval Office of the United States of America and attack the administration that is trying to prevent the destruction of your country?
A lot of questions. Let's start from the beginning.
Sure.
First of all, during the war, everybody has problems. Even you, but you have nice ocean and don't feel now. But you will.
So here we go. Pence puts it to him. You need to be in here begging for peace. Is he wearing a onesie? Is this like a little kid's outfit? I know he's like 5'2". This is a onesie. Like, does it got little feet too, or does he have socks on? This is a onesie. He's in here. He's got the craziest defensive body language you could possibly have. We got Trump doing the downwards arrowhead. This guy wearing a onesie. Vance told him, hey, you need to be in here begging for peace. You need to beg for it. We're going to give it to you. And he's in here saying, you're about to feel pain. You're not even ready for it. I mean, what kind of language would you want to have if you were trying to actually get help and money from the most powerful nation in the realm, quote unquote?
In the future.
Trump definitely took offense to that. So the downwards, this symbolizes the bringing of Azazel, Satan, Lucifer, whatever word you want to use. This is the symbol of him bringing his justice down to earth. And you'll see them, they'll also do the upwards triangle or the upwards arrowhead, and that symbolizes them moving upwards in spirituality, and they work together. And then you get the two up and down arrows, which forms the, the quote unquote star of Remphan.
You don't know that.
God bless.
You don't
God
know
bless.
that. Don't tell us what we're going to feel. We're trying to solve a problem. Don't tell us what we're going to feel.
I'm not telling you.
Because you're in no position to dictate that.
He did tell them. He did say it.
To dictate what we're going to feel. We're going to feel very good.
We're going to feel good.
Very strong. You're right now not in a very good position. You've allowed yourself to be in a very bad position, and he happens to be right about it.
From the very beginning of the war.
You're not in a good position. You don't have the cards right now.
So, we've been saying that the war is fake. Okay, it's like a stupid card game. And he's literally out here saying you don't have the fake cards. It's just insanity.
But right now, you're playing cards. You're playing cards.
Playing cards.
With the lives of millions of people. You're gambling with World War III. You're gambling with World War III. And what you're doing is very disrespectful to the country, this country.
So what they're doing is a bunch of people like George Soros and all of his crony crew, his son, and all these other people, they set up fake wars, and then they use them to cause economic disaster in the nations. They use it to, strangle out their enemies, anybody that's not a part of their group. And all of these characters are definitely involved in the same group.
It's back to you. Far more than a lot of people said they should have.
Have you said thank you once? This entire meeting? No, in this entire meeting, you said thank you.
Not in this media. Then you'll have CNN go fact check. Zelensky has thanked the United States 22 times, and they'll show all of him, sucking up to and kissing the feet of the Democrats.
Pennsylvania and campaign for the opposition in October offer some words of appreciation for the United States of America and the president who's trying to save your country.
Please, you think that if you will speak very loudly about the war,
he's not speaking loud.
So just because you're yelling at me, bro, you think that's going to have any power? I mean, he's not. He's confidently speaking. He's doing his role that he was assigned, and he's doing his role that he was assigned. Zelensky's just funny.
He's not speaking loudly. Your country's in big trouble. No, you've done a lot of talking. Your country is in big trouble.
I know.
You're not winning. You're not winning this. You have a damn good chance of coming out okay because of us.
Mr. President, we are staying in our country, staying strong from the very beginning of the war. We've been alone, and we are thankful. I said thanks.
You haven't been alone. You haven't been alone. We gave you, through this stupid president, $350 billion. We gave you military equipment, and your men are brave, but they had to use our military. If you didn't have our military equipment, this war would have been over in 2 weeks.
In 3 days, I heard it from Putin. In 3 days. This is something
maybe less.
In 2 weeks, of course, yes.
It's going to be a very hard thing to do business like this.
Again, just say thank you.
I said a lot of times to American people.
Accept that there are disagreements, and let's go litigate those disagreements rather than trying to fight it out in the American media when you're wrong.
So again, all of this should be done in private. The fact that they've got all the media, they're on the stage, they're on the set, shows you that the gig is up. And here they're saying that the problems that they had is that the president and vice president felt that they were being disrespected by the shrugging of the shoulders, the rolling of the eyes, the constantly the cocaine nose flirts and sniffs
Do
and
that. Plus, Putin and President Zelensky. Wait, for both. I want to get it solved, but I want to see it get solved.
him in his onesie pajama outfit.
In the future, but we have put in far more than they have. And
Mr. President,
please go ahead.
Ask you about the agreement again today. What changed?
I'm going to be very nice. Run by today, and
He just snorts and sniffs and carries on this just sham. And then you get like someone like Fox News comes out, they're going to break it down.
Kind of like when you want to propose, so you go to the girlfriend's dad, you go into his house. Can I have your blessing? And he goes, well, do you have any money for a ring? Nope. Do you have a job? Nope. Do you have a house? Nope. And then you start arguing with the dad and he kicks you out of the house and you go back to the girlfriend. The girlfriend's like, well, how did it go? Not good. It did not go very well. Zelensky screwed up. 30 minutes before this happened, everything was fine. Everyone was getting along fine. And then a reporter asked Trump about aligning with Russia. Trump says, I'm just aligned with America and I'm aligned with the world. And then Vance jumps in and he says, well, you know, you can talk tough and beat your chest, but that's not going to help us with diplomacy. And then Zelensky, out of nowhere, zeroes in on Vance. And he says, you don't know anything about diplomacy. What do you know about diplomacy? You can't negotiate with Putin. He can't be trusted. He violates ceasefires. Well, then what are we all doing here?
It's a great question. Like, why are they doing this? It's because it's theater, and there's a chance that this is leading us towards World War III.
He fly all the way here to sign this mineral.
A real one, maybe.
If you can't negotiate with Vladimir Putin, what's the whole point of this? We're not going to give Zelensky a security pact. It's not in America's interest to have to defend that country with American soldiers if Russia goes back in. The mineral deal is the best security that Zelensky's ever going to get. And if you didn't like the language of the deal, stay in Kiev.
Mineral.
Hash it out for another week and then fly here. Don't fly here and get all emotional. We run the world. This is America's world. He's our
I mean, if anybody really believes that America runs the world and not these rich 13 Illuminati bloodlines, you are out of your mind. The Rothschild family set up America, the United States, Canada, England, set them all up, the Vatican, and they run it all from behind the scenes. But check it out. Trump has a Hollywood star. Zelensky played a president on TV and then was brought from that role, literally finished the show that he produced and starred in. He finished the show, and the very next day, he became president of the Ukraine. I kid you not. Look at this. Just like characters in the fake flat earth movement like Jaron Campanella, they all have IMDb's, including J.D. Vance. Apparently is a writer and an actor. Donald Trump we've seen as far as being on the WWF and now WWE. Like I said, Vladimir Zelensky played a president that was brought in to save the country and then literally became the quote-unquote president to do that. Here he is not that long ago kissing the feet of the Democrat Americans. So what they do is they set up two sides. It's not hard to see. Christ told us in the scriptures that a divided house shall not stand, it'll fall. And what they do is they just divide. And then they actually go together after the game, the Democrats and the Republicans, and have dinner together and have their mansions and their yacht clubs. And they're all on the same team. And the people, the peasants, are the ones that are suffering. Look at him. Is this the demeanor that he had in his onesie when he was visiting with Pence and Trump when he needs the help?
No.
It's not how he was acting. He's going to kiss these guys. Look at that. Look at this.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Is that how he was acting?
Happy to see you.
Happy.
We know each other. It's not the first meeting, and I'm very proud that Ukraine.
They got their stupid bottles of water. There he is begging the Democrats. Here's how much he's flipped from 2023. Just a couple of years, too. And it's crazy. They're so brave and they're brazen with their lies. Like, everybody has screen records, screenshots. You can't just lie, scam, beg for money and all this stuff, and then all of a sudden be this powerful, I don't need anything kind of person. All the evidence is there of what you did and how you got there.
You can't give us some financial support. Okay, please, give us a credit, and we will give you back money.
Give us some credit.
Що у нас було 100. І це факт. Я не збираюсь визнавати 500. Хто б що не говорив, як би ми не спілкувалися. При всій повазі, ще раз, при всій повазі до партнерів, але, я стійко стою, тому що це правдива ситуація. Абсолютно ми праві. І друга ситуація, якщо чесно, навіть 100 мільярдів я не готовий фіксувати. Поясню чому. Тому що ми не маємо визнавати гранти як борги. Подобається це чи не подобається? Я домовлявся з Байденом і домовлявся з Конгресом Сполучених Штатів Америки. Я вдячен Конгресу. Це була присутність двох партій і підтримка.
So it's obvious, excuse me for that little error there, Rubio, who spent 25 years in servitude to the United States of America, thought that he was going to be the next vice president and then maybe the next president, but he got rug pulled by Vance. Vance came in and they chose him, right? The whoever it is in control. But here it was, Senator Rubio just got rug pulled, just like Javier Milei and Donald Trump rug pulled people with Bitcoin scams. Zelensky assured Rubio that the mineral deal was all locked in. Rubio confidently told the president it was a done deal. With Zelensky visiting the White House to sign, instead Zelensky shifted like the glurfers do, the goalposts, demanding the U.S. ground troops knowing Trump wouldn't agree. Zelensky isn't an honest broker. No, he is doing what he has been told to do. And look at the body language. This Rubio character is gross. And if anybody doesn't remember, it was Alex Jones chased him around. And Alex Jones was then kicked off social media for the way that he treated Rubio. And we get this. So this was the Fox interview that he ran right to after that whole get out of the White House and don't come back till you wear a suit and your onesie.
Thing, Mr. President. Yeah. Do you think your relationship with Donald Trump, President Trump, after today, can be salvaged?
Can be?
He didn't know what salvaged means.
Yes, of course, because it's relations more than two presidents. It's the historical relations, strong relations between our people. And that's why I always began with to thank your people, from our people. And this is the most important. And of course, thankful to President and of course to Congress, but first of all to your people. Your people helped to save our people. People, the first. Human rights, the first. This is very, very important, and we are thankful. And so
very important.
I mean, this we wanted very much to have only strong relations, and I very count that we will have it.
Very confident, strong relations. Just in, Ukrainian MP calls emergency meeting to begin the impeachment process of Zelensky after the disaster in Washington. But we're not done yet. Do you actually know what took place? Now, Storm Clouds Gathering did a great video way back, over a decade ago. They set this up. Everything that we see, the CIA, everything was being orchestrated so that all the cards could be in the correct position in the deck.
We, of course, never choose candidates in any country. But what we do in countries that proclaim to be democracies is we offer the opportunity for candidates of all kinds to learn how to put themselves forward to best effect.
Have we ever tried to meddle in other countries' elections?
Oh, probably.
We don't do that now, though. We don't mess around other people's elections, Jim.
Only for a very good
Can
cause.
you do that?
I think Yachts is the guy who's got the economic experience, the governing experience. He's the guy, what he needs is Cleach and Tony Book on the outside. He needs to be talking to them 4 times a week, I just think Cleach going in, he's going to be at that level working for Yatsenyuk. It's just not going to work.
We, of course, never choose candidates in any country. We offer the opportunity for candidates of all kinds to learn how to put themselves forward to best effect, and we always support the right of peaceful political protest in any country.
I mean, you can get a deeper dive into the goings-ons of what the CIA does and what they've done. There's so much more that we could cover, but they definitely orchestrated the setup, the coup. They had a bunch of fake shootings. Then you have Castro here, Justin, flying over to Ukraine. He's only got days left until he's done, finally, as the Prime Minister of China. But here he is going again to support Zelensky.
Thank you, Volodymyr, for hosting today's summit and for your courageous leadership as the duly elected democratic leader of this.
Gotta say democratic, huh?
Since the start of Russia's full-scale illegal war of aggression 3 years ago, you've shown remarkable personal bravery, resilience, and resolve, a defiant spirit mirrored by the unbreakable Ukrainian people. You continue to inspire me and tens of millions of my fellow citizens back home in Canada.
It's an absolute lie. This is one of the main reasons why this guy had to resign. It's because people don't want to send their money to these coke addict criminals. Their shady democratic dealings. People are hungry for truth and justice and to have a little bit of a break in their economy. Cheaper groceries. And that's absolutely the opposite of what they're going to get. Here we got Canada working day and night, though, supposedly to avert the U.S. tariffs. What they say is that China smuggles the quote-unquote fentanyl, which is just really, really, really processed heroin. And then they're smuggling that across the mountains, which has been a long time drug smuggling system that's been set up there with mostly cocaine, but now it's fentanyl. But Canada is doing everything they can, but Trudeau says that if the tariffs do come out, he is going to have an extremely strong response. And they've donated again. They're going to send billions or hundreds of millions of dollars to protect Zelensky. So we've got the other side of World War III. European leaders are now coming out to back Zelensky. What do we have here? The leaders of, it says, Germany, France, Spain, Poland, and the Netherlands were among those who posted social media messages backing the Ukraine. So what we're having is a setup here, including the president, or whatever you want to call him, prime minister or prime minister, Keir Starmer, again, retains unwavering support for the Ukraine, as well as Macron and other different leaders from the France and the Dutch and all these people, Germany. They're the ones that are posturing. It looks like it's going to be, I can't believe I'm saying this, the USA, China, Russia versus like England, Canada, Germany, France, Spain. This is the weirdest World War III that I could have ever imagined. I would have always thought that Canada and the USA would have been on the same side, but that's not what they're actually serving up. Again, Trump kicked Zelensky out of the White House. Their deal is off the table now. They're not interested in the quote-unquote mineral deal, so they must have something else in plan. Could it be World War III? I don't know. It seems interesting, though, that Zelensky can definitely wear a suit when meeting with the WEF, right? When he goes and meets with Klaus Schwab, he wore the suit, but he had to wear the cotton onesies when he went to the White House here. And just to check here on what NATO is, this is the supposed peacekeeping force of the world. You look at the spending that takes place here, the countries that are saying they're going to back Zelensky compared to the amount of money. So who owns NATO? It's 70% United States of America. Good luck getting NATO to do anything other than what the U.S. tells it to. The whole thing is a sham. They're going to make things expensive for the UK, France, Germany, Canada, Spain, Poland, and the Netherlands. They're trying to posture it up. We are going to cover it. We are going to do a song break. And we come back, you are not going to want to miss this. We are going to get into the Epstein files and what they've released. I will see you after this break.
Spilled your wine. The restaurant's closing. Lost track of time. Back at your house now. You say it's a mess, but it's just a stopgap. I take off your dress. Close, started to feel only to leave soon as it's real. We've got so much in common, including the issues I'll put away, cause I know that I miss you. That's when it hits me so suddenly. You were almost the best thing that happened to me. I could pull the car over, got nowhere to be. You could say how you feel, but you chose something mean. That's when it hits you so suddenly. You were almost the best thing that happened to me. I'm in New York. We've had some space. You're in the ball gown, fresh out the rain. You come up to 305 cause you hate the noise, and your friends are all stood outside talking to boys. And I haven't moved on and you don't get out much. You're still holding me back, it's still me that you trust. We've got so much in common, including the issues I'll put away, cause I know that I'll miss you. That's when it hits me so suddenly. You were almost the best thing that happened to me. I could pull the car over, got nowhere to be. You could say how you feel, but you chose something mean. That's when it hits me so suddenly. You were almost the best thing that happened to me.
You're now tuned into the Rise and Grind podcast, and that was Bradley Simpson and their brand new track, Almost. We've got so much to cover. Get locked in. If you're tuned in, you are the actual resistance, and you have actually found the truth. I aspire to just put out the evidence. I don't have anybody paying me. I don't sell anything. I do this because I'm passionate about the truth. I can't even believe what's taking place here. So if you know about AG Pam Bondi, you should be able to find out that she was also the Attorney General in Florida when Jeffrey Epstein was first brought in and given the most sweetheart deal you could ever imagine. He was convicted of pedophilia, sex trafficking, all these heinous, disgusting crimes. And while she was the leader of that whole entire judicial system there in Florida, all he had to do was sleep at nighttime, in the supposed quote-unquote jail for a little while. That was what he was charged with. But so they're going to release the Epstein files. And not only that, but Pam Bondi also served on the Trump impeachment team. She represented him as well as I didn't take my underwear off Dershowitz. But let's get into this.
One of the things a lot of people are wondering, because you said last week that you have the Epstein files on your desk, is when can we see them and what's taking so long to release them?
I do. Jesse, there are well over, this will make you sick, 200 victims. 200. So we have well over 250.
So you've got the Attorney General Pam Bondi here. Everybody's been screaming, we need justice. We need to find out who in the American government, who are these rich, powerful people? Why are they blackmail? What have they done? We need to put a stop to this. She comes out and she's victim-splaining. Do you think that they're actually going to protect these quote-unquote victims? This is what it's about? It's not about the victims. All their names are going to be redacted. This is absolutely insanity.
Actually, so we have to make sure that their identity is protected.
Oh, I bet. So it's all about protecting the victims' identities, huh?
Their personal information. But other than that, I think tomorrow, the personal information of victims. Other than that, I think tomorrow, Jesse, breaking news right now, you're going to see some Epstein information being released by my office.
She's all happy about that.
Are we going to see who was on the flights? Are we going to see any evidence from what he recorded? Because he had all of his homes wired with recording devices.
Yeah, what you're going to see, hopefully tomorrow, is a lot of flight logs, a lot of names, a lot of information, but it's pretty sick what that did.
Okay, well, we'll
along
look for
with his
that.
co-defendant.
Co-defendant. Trump? Oh, no. Ghislaine Maxwell, right? The daughter of Robert Maxwell. You are not going to get any truth. These people are not going to release any of the actual evidence. This is what they did. They chose a bunch of these quote-unquote social media influencers, and they gave them these binders. This looks an awful lot like Unit 8200 moves, where they have Benjamin Netanyahu wave a bunch of binders around and say that Iran has planned to do disastrous things to Israel. They got the cowboy hat on. If you spend even as long as 1 minute breaking down who these individual characters are and their stories, instead of actually getting out to the information to the people, you are a disservice to the journalism out here. You are wasting people's times, and you are going to pay. If you're out here claiming to break down the Epstein files and you're going to share the truth and the information with people, and you care more about talking about Ben Shapiro, you need to get your head out of your ass. People need to know what's going on. We'll go into Ian Carroll here a little bit, but I'm very disappointed in his coverage lately. There's so much more to get into. We're not going to hold the punches here. We're going to show you.
Actually just released the Epstein files. They just put them all online unredacted, and now we have all the information. Not what they did.
Well, there's information out there, but you can find
Decided
it.
to do
Ian's not going to tell us, unfortunately.
instead is to have a private meeting with a bunch of very mainstream conservative influencers in the White House, where they gave them all binders of the current first phase of disclosure. And now everything is going crazy. I'm going to try to not be super sassy and to actually give a balanced take on this one. First off, why is it not online in PDF format first right now already? So
Great point. Why didn't they just release this to the public? Great point. That's the first thing that we should have, right?
that everyone can look at the information and understand what's going on and everyone can dig in. I'm assuming that that is going to be happening today or tomorrow, and that this was just like, this wasn't an arranged meeting. These cameras were for a different thing, and they happened to catch these guys all walking out of the Oval Office. And so they kind of got ambushed by a bunch of media that was there for Keir Starmer. And so this was not.
He's placating. He's giving you the reasons. This wasn't planned, he's saying. This was just an accident. That's an absolute lie. Why are you lying, Ian? Why aren't you telling the people the truth that they staged and set this up and brought in a bunch of fake influencers?
Publicly sort of a thing right now, but it is. So a little bit of grace that maybe the PDFs are coming, maybe it is all going online, and that this is formality, like a way of symbolizing that we want the new media involved in.
So he's the new media. unfortunately. He does good content too, as well. But also this cucked out, bitching out, protecting these fake, evil, corrupt, criminal people is disgusting. This is pathetic.
Which is a great look. Can't help point out though that the new media that they chose, while some, there's a number of personalities here, like there's Scott Pressler.
Again, we talked about this earlier, the quote unquote new media. So they try to bring out people as, oh, these are just normal everyday citizens, like guys like Red's Retarded and Astromutt, the guys that are filming SpaceX with better quality than NASA and SpaceX have. They are employees for those agencies, LARPing as civilians.
I'm not really familiar
to gain your trust
with this woman's work at all. I know that Jack Posobiec is involved. Then there's DC Drano and Chaya, whatever her name is.
He's breaking down the characters again. He's not actually, we're not getting to any of the information. Everybody knows that it was Israel that was behind this. Robert Maxwell was a Mossad agent, known. Jeffrey Epstein, Mossad agent, known. This is just, it's obvious. They're not going to come out and say that Israel took down the buildings on 9/11 so that they could bring in the Patriot Act and move their totalitarian New World Order system into place. They're not going to say that, but Ian's just going to beat around the bush. You're going to get letters like this from Pam Bondi sending it to Cash. Right? By 8 a.m. tomorrow, February 28th, the FBI will deliver the full and complete Epstein files to my... No, they won't. This is just nothing more than Masonic follow the carrot dangling nothingness. Over and over and over again. Alena Habba says there will absolutely be new criminal prosecutions in the Epstein list. No, there won't be. I think it would be negligent for us to, she told Piers Morgan on his show Uncensored, you have to hold individuals who are indeed rapists accountable. Look at this face on this character. Do you think that they're going to hold the actual individuals accountable? We're talking about people like Bill Gates, Elon Musk, Donald Trump. These are the characters that are actually involved in the Epstein files. It says here, Florida Epstein has also provided information to the FBI as agreed upon. Case agent advised that no federal prosecution. So Epstein was both working for all the different secret intelligence agencies, not just Unit 8200. Right? Child prostitution, the stuff that's going on that these guys were doing is disgusting. And what they were actually doing was setting up blackmail. This is how the mobsters do it. And the mobsters became the government. And they hid the fact that the mobsters were out there. Jeffrey Epstein was an Israeli intelligence asset as well as working for the Vatican. Don't be fooled. Who set up the Vatican was the Rothschild family. They owned the intelligence agencies. So we get former intelligence agency officer Ben Manshi, and Epstein ran Mossad honeypot operation with, yes, Ghislaine Maxwell. Ghislaine Maxwell's dad, Robert Maxwell, a known Mossad spy. We can go through all these. Charles Bronfman, we're going to get into a little bit of that. Another ring. So there's not just this one. This is like the one that they show you, right? You get to see this one. You don't think that there's not 50 other blackmail, pedophile, sex working, disgusting agencies. We get Lex Wessner, the Victoria's Secret deal that Epstein managed, right? $77 million Manhattan house where you had Ehud Barak, the prime minister of Israel, was visiting. Mega group member Ronald Lauder, as president of the World Jewish Congress, was also involved in Netanyahu's Likud party. Epstein's lawyer, Alan, I didn't take my underwear off, Dershowitz. We're going to get to that. Epstein had multiple meetings with former Israeli Prime Minister Ehud Barak. All of this stuff is just obvious. Not only was he Mossad, but he was also a Jesuit. He was also working for many other different secret society agencies. And people like to forget, like, here's Ghislaine's dad, Robert Maxwell. One thing about the party aboard the British media mogul, they call them, media mogul, right? That's what they call the spies. Spies work in the everywhere. Musicians, famous athletes, they are all spies. They all do whatever they can. Everybody but everybody had to be on there, and they had to take their shoes off while boarding his boat, Lady Ghislaine, which he was once then thrown off of, died. He died on that boat. Maxwell insisted and his guests cooperated, including Donald Trump, minus Ivana at that time, who has a much bigger yacht. So they're saying that Trump had a bigger yacht than this guy, but they were close business associates. Trump is so heavily involved in this, it's not even funny, including Elon Musk, who was set up his first wife by this pedophile satanic ring. They all worked together. There was no bounds. There was all the different leaders of the world, the king, the queen, everybody, the prince, the princess, everything was involved. And it's crazy how easy it is for people to have this pulled over their eyes. It's shocking. It is shocking to me. You know, we're going to continue to show it. We're not going to hold any punches. You're going to hear what's going on, what happened, and why we are where we are.
David, she claims Dershowitz had sex with her 6 times at Epstein's residences.
A little bit low. Let me get the sound boosted up here. Hold on. I want to make sure everybody hears this. You know, you get princes and princesses. It's just insanity that we have this and that people aren't actually talking about this and bringing the actual evidence out.
In a new affidavit, she claims Dershowitz had sex with her 6 times at Epstein's residences, as well as on his jet and private island, and swore to seeming new details regarding alleged sex with Prince Andrew at Epstein's order when she was 17. The two are photographed here in London.
I can tell you she is still a prostitute. She is selling false stories now for money about me.
Do you have any concern calling her a prostitute when she was victimized at such a young age by this wealthy man?
She was not victimized. She made her own decisions in life.
But at the age of 15, some would say that's a little young and that she was taken advantage of.
I'm talking about the age of 19. Look, that's between her and the federal government and the people that she claims victimized her.
Dershowitz is a longtime friend of Epstein's who represented him in the criminal underage sex case.
Could you please? I never saw a young underage woman.
Yet Epstein's former butler swore under oath that Dershowitz was at Epstein's residences at the same time underage girls were there.
Were there young women in another part of the house giving massages when I wasn't around? I have no idea of that.
Dershowitz did say he once received a massage at Epstein's mansion, but from an adult woman.
I kept my underwear on during the massage. I don't like massages particularly.
Bob Norman, Local 10 News.
Robert's attorneys claim.
But he was there, right? He was there, got the massage, but I don't like them. And he says he never took his underwears off, right? That's your Alan Dershowitz character, who's also yoked up and tied this. Then we get the Bronfman connections to the sex trafficking as well. I mean, not only that, but Richard Gabranson of Virgin Galactic, heavily involved in all this. He is his own pedophile island. All these characters. Do you think that this is just one instance where this took place? Matthew Bronfman connected to Epstein through Lynn DeForester Rothschild. I mean, it just goes on and on. Dershowitz was put into contact with Epstein through Lynn. Was heavy Hillary supporter as well. Like, you get the connections. It's so easy to see, but what you're not going to get is who's actually behind all this. This is what you're going to get redacted. It's what you're going to get from guys like Ian Carroll, sadly, who, you know, have the power and the reach to actually get the truth out there, yet they want to talk about Ben Shapiro's and these cuck conservative, supposed like regular people.
Sent to her.
Get the truth out.
8 a.m. At that point,
what happened?
They will review the information.
This is what they gave out to people. Look at this. Look at this.
Redact any personal identifying information.
Saw Bill Gates, Donald Trump.
Identities of victims.
This is crazy.
Continue to release this information.
It's a joke.
In accordance with Trump's executive order.
It's Trump. Trump's going to tell you all the dirty things he did. People are just getting bamboozled. It's crazy. It's so crazy. This is what they're giving out, this redaction. You want me to play more of this? You want to see more? How much more do you want to see? And this is what you're going to get from the mainstream media. Yeah, I'm the most censored channel in the world. Here's the reason why, because I'm going to actually show you the information. All these AG Pam Bondi's again, the victims. I didn't take my underwear off.
For these documents right when I came into office.
Oh, yeah, you're going to free the world and tell everybody the truth, are you, Pam?
And before Kash Patel was in there. So I ended up getting about 120 pages. We carefully redacted them, of course, to be sure.
Carefully.
The 254
going to protect the
women who are victims of
it's all about the women.
Sex trafficking. Their personal information was redacted. There to protect them. So I'm going through it and I kept saying, there has to be more. There has to be more. I'm assured that's it. Cash asked the same questions. Assured there's no more. I found out, this week that a source told me.
A source. This is the Attorney General. A source told me. I found out last week. We're going to put it all out, but we got to redact it all to protect these raped victims. I mean, cut the shit, Pam. This is a joke. Let's put it out. Let's show the world what actually took place, where we are, how we got here. Let's start off with Whitney Webb.
I wanted to ask you, is there an Epstein 2.0? Like, has somebody come in and filled that void, or did that entire operation die with Epstein?
Yeah, it absolutely didn't die with Epstein, but I think Epstein 2.0 isn't a person. It's software. It's online surveillance. And I argue this in my book. So my book on Epstein and the broader Epstein network is One Nation Under Blackmail, Volumes 1 and 2. And Volume 1 is sort of like the background of the network that Epstein would later inhabit. Volume 2 is specifically about Epstein. So if you only want to read about Epstein and not about the people that sort of set the stage for him and the group that supported him once he established himself, then you would just read Volume 2 at that point. And in Volume 2 is where I make that argument too.
So just so everybody knows, this guy right here, Roy Cohen, this was Trump's boss. This is who brought Trump up into the world, and then who, quote unquote, supposedly died from a fictitious disease called AIDS, which, yes, people do get deficient and very sick if they're practicing things that are not healthy for the human body. But there's no doubt in my mind that he was most likely poisoned by Trump to get where he is. These are mobsters. These are mobsters who got the power of the actual American government.
That by the time, well after Epstein's first arrest and before his second arrest in 2019, really it was more, it's really all about technology.
Technology. Hang on one second, Whitney. I want to make sure I slow this down. The Epstein stuff was about sexually blackmailing men in powerful positions to move. What does Elon Musk say that he is? Tech support, right? Everything was being pushed forward. They needed to get into Google. They needed to get into Windows. They needed to get into Apple. They needed to get into everywhere where technology was taking place so that they could learn how to get all of that data so that they could actually start blackmailing everybody that way.
Same people.
It's not just about the innocent rapist victims and the underage pedophilia. That is a part of it, yes. But the larger part of it that's being hidden from you is the fact that this has been all about pre-crime. This has been about the technological takeover of the world and the mark of the beast system.
Part of this network, like Ghislaine Maxwell's father, for example, Robert Maxwell, were involved in intelligence-linked operations to backdoor, critical infrastructure in the United States. And there's been a long history of people trying to, obtain intelligence through surreptitious means. And so sexual blackmail for a long time was part of that. But once sort of the internet and technology came to dominate, our lives in the post-2000s era, it's not really necessary to have someone doing sexual blackmail in the way that Epstein did it. It actually is much less risky for them because they don't have to pay to help maintain someone's billionaire playboy lifestyle or, maintain the data obtained from sexual blackmail parties or any of these things, and there's a lot less risk involved. Epstein himself is a great example. Sort of got outed that he was doing this kind of stuff in 2007, and they try and put it back in the bottle, but they can't quite really, and then it totally explodes. Roughly a decade later. Again, so if you're doing it covertly through software, you not only know what everyone is looking and doing online, who they're communicating to, what they're saying, and if they have sexual deviances, for example, that's very easy to find.
So we're just starting to scratch the surface of what's actually behind the Epstein files. The fact that the government, all the tech billionaires, everybody in Silicon Valley were all working together, yes, with Israeli operatives, but also British, Vatican, Roman, all of the different secret societies. They were all working together to gather up all the different tech support so that they could start to blackmail. And not only that, but the reach is just limitless. From what they've done and what they're able to do with this new technology is what they were actually interested in. It's not about sex trafficking.
I'm very aware of that because starting in the late 1990s, really 99 or so, they started to court very heavily people who would become the dominant Silicon Valley oligarchs of today. So like Jeff Bezos had a very intimate relationship with Ghislaine Maxwell. The Google co-founders, particularly Sergey Brin, very cozy with Epstein. Both Google co-founders were subpoenaed as part of that U.S. Virgin Islands Epstein JP Morgan trial. So was Elon Musk. Reid Hoffman, Very well documented, very cozy relationship with Epstein that involved visits to the island and the townhouse and all of that. Of course, there's Bill Gates, whose ties to Epstein, despite mainstream media's claims, go back to the 1990s, not to 2011 as they claim. I would argue that's because they're trying to absolve Microsoft of any potential compromise factor as it relates to Epstein, because that was at a time when Gates had officially left his formal role at Microsoft, and there is a lot of weird stuff about Epstein and Microsoft in the 90s and into the 2000s. And given that Microsoft is essentially ubiquitous globally and is the operating system on every computer, the fact you would have someone like that involved with them is pretty significant in light of what I was just saying earlier about the potential for blackmail and technology today. And so, by having these sort of relationships with these top figures whose services and programs for essentially are running our lives today, that's something that I don't think has been properly explored. So even though that Epstein, there's the fact that Epstein does, as you pointed out, remain a cultural phenomena, I think a lot has been done to sort of maintain the spectrum of interest in Epstein's, specifically on sex crimes and people who may be on the quote-unquote client list and things like that. And really, if you look at Epstein, he was not mainly a sex blackmailer. He was mainly, for lack of a better word, a financial criminal that facilitated financial crimes of very, very wealthy people and also of intelligence services.
So, are we paying attention here? Ian, all you other journalists, the sex crimes and all that stuff is a distraction. It's so that you don't understand that they actually infiltrated and set up a vast beast technological system that is now being used to completely control everything in the world. We're not done yet.
Organized crime and our intelligence services, which is a union that really began in the World War II era. It was justified as being made, that alliance, out of wartime necessity. But
so it started, again, everything that we've been talking about on the Rise and Grind since day one, since a decade of work, a vast body of information that we put together here on this small yet powerful team, is that they warn you, they threaten you, they create these fake wars, and then what they do is they subvert and they come in and they take over and they do whatever it is they want while you're in fear of these other things. So through the First World Wars and Second World Wars, supposedly, they set up the fake nation of Israel. They set up what's called the scapegoat. They've continued to move this agenda further and further towards the all-encompassing mark of the beast, the data entry visa biometric systems, the mark of the beast, the chips. They don't need to chip you. They've got cameras everywhere in the sky now. They float them up there at like 250,000 feet. They just are able to zoom in. They know everywhere you go. They have every phone, every computer, every smart TV. Almost every smart piece of technology has a microphone and a camera in it, all working together seamlessly on Wi-Fi networks, creating pictures, creating all the different data. They know everything. Sure, it's not a problem if you're a righteous person and you're not doing corrupt things, but what you need to know is they're working together to actually destroy, cripple, and make everybody's life living hell. And the people that are in charge are some of the most disgusting people you could ever imagine. And we're going to get to that. We're not done
obviously
yet.
Was very lucrative and continued after the war, and essentially the CIA, take over for the mob, and that's why the CIA sort of, the mob disappears.
I want everybody to understand this point, okay? In the world wars and into the 80s, all the mafia, who did they have? The John Gottis, they had the Teflon Dons, quote unquote, Teflon Don. They had all these fake mobsters, right? They all supposedly went to jail. They all got caught. They all had these, hidden wires. And what actually ended up happening was that the government and the tech companies became the modern version of the mafia.
CIA starts running all of what had previously been mob rackets, like arms trafficking and drug trafficking, human trafficking, among other things. And that's why you have all those scandals.
Who do you think is running the fentanyl? Is it the Chinese through into Vancouver, into Canada, or is it the CIA? Is it the NSA, the FBI, all the different the same people who are allegedly releasing the Epstein files are the ones actually benefiting, profiting, and running everything that you see taking place today. They are literally the ones, and they're waving binders around with people cheering. Well, yes, innocent people have been sex trafficked. The list of disgust is beyond actual capable of words. But we are going to touch on a little bit of
The
it.
CIA doing those things, they essentially, took it over. And if you look at the history of, U.S. intelligence specifically, it's very intimately married to Wall Street and to private capital and corporations in the U.S. That's why a lot of the earliest leaders of our intelligence apparatus were Wall Street lawyers and bankers, and why many of the CIA's earliest coups were done on behalf of major corporations, like the overthrow of Arbenz in Guatemala being done on behalf of United Fruit, and the overthrow of Mossadegh in Iran to benefit the Anglo-American, oil corporation, essentially. So it's really always been kind of this public-private partnership, and I would argue that organized crime came to dominate a lot of the American corporate landscape, but it took several decades, but it absolutely did happen.
So it's not about Israel, right? This is a much greater issue. This is about wicked evil and their takeover of everything that we know and we experience in life. The control of everything that we do, say and hear. And who is it that's ushering it in? It's Donald Trump. And how did he get to power? He was the one behind Epstein. Roy Cohen gave him the keys to it. You don't believe me? Let's hear a little bit more in the backstory about Trump and Epstein's relationship. Let's talk about it. And all the journalists out there, start getting the truth out. There's only a matter of time before we even have the ability to do this. I've already been completely censored off of everywhere in the world. I'm completely shadow banned. I was never monetized. Nothing can get out there. I do my best. I yell and scream. I try to make things as best as possible, but I need your help to share this information. The people out here, the journalists, that somehow, if you're not working for the CIA, the FBI, the NSA, or these mobsters, somehow, and you stumbled upon this channel, please get the information out there and help me. Let's hear a little bit of the backstory about Trump and Epstein and just the kind of characters that are supposedly running the world right now.
You've ever talked about this publicly. A particular secret source when you wrote Fire and Fury, right?
Well, I had many secret sources.
But this was a particular secret source.
Quite particular. It was Trump's old friend, Jeffrey Epstein. That Jeffrey Epstein. I think we have a snippet from one of the conversations that I recorded with Epstein, and I think this was in a restaurant in 2017.
So this book was written, Fire and Fury, by Michael Wolff, and he does these podcasts that you can go and get. You can listen to them yourself. All the pieces that I'm not going to put out here, I've just selected a few parts to share with you, and you can start to understand. But for evidence purposes, if you don't have receipts, if you don't have timestamps, if you don't have recording, if you're out here saying that I personally wrote down these confessions of Jeffrey Epstein about Trump and you don't have evidence, your word is meaningless. So here we have a part or a clip of this is Epstein talking. This is not something you're hearing anywhere else online. Nobody's bringing you the information. No one's telling you the actual truth behind Trump and Epstein. And we're going to do it here on the Rise and Grind, because the word grind in the scriptures actually alludes to speaking the truth. And that's what we do.
People fight each other.
Right.
And then have outsiders. He sort of poisons the well outside.
So he said Donald Trump will have insiders on his team. He will start fights, quote unquote, poisoning the well.
He will tell 10 people Bannon's a scumbag and Priest is not doing a good job, and Kelly has a big mouth. And what do you think? Jamie Dimon says that you're a problem, and I shouldn't keep you. And I spoke to Carl Icahn, and Carl thinks I need a new spokesperson. So Kelly, even though I hired Kellyanne's husband, Kellyanne's just too much of a wild card. And then he tells Bannon, I really want to keep you, but Kellyanne hates you.
I have more than dozens. I probably have 100 hours of Epstein talking about the inner workings of the Trump White House and about his long-standing, deep relationship.
So that's clip number one. Let's keep this going. It gets darker, dirtier, and nastier. Let's keep it going.
I mean, and I think it's partly all about that question. How could this have happened? How could this person, who we have seen how he behaves, actually have then become the president of the United States? And Epstein knew him really, I think, better than most. I mean, this was a true BFF situation. Two playboys, very much so.
I want to make sure everybody understands what you're not being told by these fake journalists like Ian Carroll. Okay, Epstein and Trump, and I don't want to bash on Ian. I want people to come out here and speak the truth. Epstein and Trump were best friends. Trump got to where he is because of Epstein.
Themselves as playboys in that Hefner sense, who palled around for the better part of 15 years. This was a relationship that began in the late 80s, 87 or 88, I think, and continued until they had a fight over real estate, the thing rich guys fight over in 2004. There's a particular story that Epstein tells, and it's from the late 80s, maybe 89, maybe 90, and it's about Brooklyn real estate. So Trump's father, Fred, was making him look at real estate in Brooklyn, a big piece of land and lots of old buildings that they could buy. Now, this was the last place that Donald Trump wanted to be associated with. I mean, he had kind of styled himself, been reborn as this Manhattan guy, but his father was making him do it. And he brought Epstein along to look at this property with him. And I remember Epstein described, Trump came in his limo to pick Epstein up, and Epstein was waiting for Trump on the street with two beautiful girls, models. They each were holding a dog on a leash, those Afghans.
Jesus, huge dogs.
Huge dogs. But then Trump got there and he jumps out of the car and he says, no dogs, no dogs. I don't want any dogs in the car. And then Epstein responds, then no girls. So the dogs came along and then they went to Brooklyn, and then Epstein kept making fun of him the whole way because he was going to have to become a Brooklyn real estate guy.
Right.
And then Epstein said, I'm not going to associate with you anymore if you're a Brooklyn real estate guy. And the girls, no more girls, Donald.
So what was the bond? What did they actually see in each other?
I think that they were 1980s guys. I mean, I think they saw themselves as this was their time, and they were the embodiment of that moment, which was money, women, and status. I mean, the money was all about the deal, playing the angles, essentially get-rich-quick schemes. And whether it was Trump's real estate stuff and who he was borrowing money and how he was borrowing money, or it was Epstein's, a million schemes, I guess money laundering schemes.
Was Epstein rich at this time?
Well, you never know how much they certainly looked like they were rich. They were certainly living like they were rich. Epstein had a plane. I mean, the plane for Epstein, and I think also for Trump, became the way of being rich. If you had a plane, then obviously you were rich. And this was the dawn of people having their own private planes. And Epstein and Trump were kind of interesting and distinguished that they didn't get, G4s or whatever. They got, 757s. I mean, so they were going around.
Requisition airline planes.
And these big planes, which they would then redecorate in kind of baronial style. And the women were all about kind of top-level pulchritude models. I mean, this was the 1980s. Models were the sexual currency of the time. The social currency too. And they were very competitive about the women. So Stacey Williams recalling that there was a competition, I think is probably exactly accurate. I mean, there was one point in which they had a competition about who would be the first one who would sleep with Princess Diana. Now,
I just really need people to understand at what level of evil, corrupt, wicked-hearted men here, Trump and Epstein, having a bet who would be the first one to bang the princess. You understand who we're dealing with here?
I think that ever happened.
I don't believe so.
And there was a thing. There was a period in which he was brought in to be a Princess Diana walker.
All of a sudden, you literally have Epstein with Diana. I guess he won that one, huh?
In other words, when he would be seated next to her, when the seat became empty, I mean, these guys were playing at the highest stakes they could play. I mean, there was constant kind of betting about who could get what girl first. And then the status thing was all about what money could buy and what it could buy in that golden-crusted Trump sense. And in real estate, of course. I mean, it was always about what real estate could be bought. I think Epstein saw Trump as essentially Bush League. His old man was rich, but he was from Queens. And I think Trump saw Epstein, the Brooklyn guy, who had achieved this kind of level of cool, which was, I think, had a lot to do with the Victoria's Secret relationship. Epstein had this relationship
with Les Wexner.
Wexner. And again, it's models.
And not only was it models, but there was a lot of trannies involved in this. What was the secret that Victoria kept? Was it a girl with a gun? The Miss Universe models also have secrets, and they've been doing disgusting, treacherous, wicked things. And I'm not going to get too deep into that, but again, this is the information you're not getting.
At the center of this was 1980s and model.
This is the Epstein files. This is what's actually behind it. This is where it came from. The truth of the Epstein files we already went over. It was the fact that they used blackmail and prostitution, underaged and overaged, to blackmail men in powerful positions, especially in the tech world, so that they could track, trace, and take over everything to create pre-crime, to create everything that you can find, everything that you want. They have all the power, and they did it with Jeffrey Epstein, and they don't need him anymore because they have all of their back-end doors, their Palantirs. They have everything within Apple, within Google, within literally every single computer system, every TV, every single thing that's connected to the internet. They actually have, thanks to what Jeffrey Epstein did, and Donald Trump, and one of them's dead.
Did Epstein actually like Trump?
I think it pleased Epstein that he could look down on Trump. Trump the vulgarian.
I would say
vulgarian. So it's just a kind of relative. I'm more vulgar than you. And I can't tell if I'm more vulgar than you, the more vulgar you got, elevated your status, or I don't know. Epstein believed that part of his attraction to Trump is that he had the better plane, and that Trump could ride on his plane because actually at this time, Trump was in the midst of his big financial difficulties.
Yeah.
So who had the plane was a balance of power thing.
Yeah.
There was a story Epstein told about coming up from Palm Beach with Trump, and they're on Epstein's plane. And they were with Epstein's girlfriend at the time, and Trump was trying to impress her. I think, again, it's part of this constant competition. And Trump wanted to get Epstein to divert the plane to go to Atlantic City so they could go to one of Trump's casinos. And the girl in question, who was European, didn't know, what Atlantic City was. And Trump was saying that Atlantic City was going to be the new Las Vegas, and Trump was going to be the king of the new Las Vegas. And Epstein then told the girl Trump was the king, but he was the white trash king, and Atlantic City was the white trash kingdom.
I mean, you can imagine that being said as sort of bro bonhomie, or you can imagine it being said with kind of secret disgust from one to the other.
I think this was part of the patter that went on, but I think it was this constant balancing of status. Who was up, who was down, who was the real cool guy, and who was the fake cool guy, and whose riches were richer. And whose girls were higher on the 1980s girl hierarchy.
Do we know if at this time Epstein was hanging out with the underage girls, or was that something he kept closeted and away from his coterie of the people around him?
At this point, I don't know. I mean, certainly later, I think it was clear. I mean, that was sort of the Palm Beach phase.
Yeah.
I think it began there. And then Trump was certainly kind of in and out of Epstein's house and world. So I think knew something about that. But I think at this point, it was part of this competition, part of how did the girls elevate you? I mean, they enjoyed the competition. And I think that Trump was envious about Epstein's girlfriends, which included actresses and models. I mean, Stacey Williams, the model who has just come forward, a very kind of well-known model of the moment, Sports Illustrated swimsuit model. So I think that this was always part of the admiration that Trump had for Epstein. And in fact, there was a moment in which they actually shared a girlfriend.
Shared a girlfriend?
They were both openly, possibly proudly, going out with the same girl at the same time.
Do you know who that was?
I do, yeah.
Can you tell us?
I wouldn't. No. But, let me just make the point that in a moment in time, there was a particular kind of sexual excess and license and cruelty, masculine cruelty, rich guy masculine cruelty, that was not just allowed, but celebrated.
So so not only is everything that we just heard the path that Donald Trump took to presidency, this is the path that the wicked, evil people in society took over all the tech companies, Google, Apple. I'm telling you, every single one of them, they used Epstein, and they used guys like Donald Trump, and there's more of these characters, right? There's more of them. This is just scratching the surface. This is where we start to get into some of the most disgusting parts of this.
I think that Epstein and Trump really were two of its exaggerated exponents. Of course, we see now Epstein as the sexual monster, but certainly, at least in Epstein's telling, he and Trump were pretty much in this regard brothers in arms. There was a beauty pageant that was organized at Mar-a-Lago. Remember, Trump is in the pageant business, and Trump organized it and put it together. It was Miss something or other. And, girls were brought in and they were told it was a big deal, a major event, and flown into Mar-a-Lago. And when they arrived on the Mar-a-Lago stage, these girls for the beauty pageant, the only people there to see them were Epstein and Trump.
I mean, was there any awareness on Epstein's part that there was something gross going on here? Or was he an equal participant?
I mean, I certainly never got an indication that Epstein was questioning himself.
Yeah.
But in fact, he seemed to regard Trump's behavior as somehow proving that his own was far more reasonable.
So Epstein was saying that Trump was even worse than he was at this disgusting, filth, toxic, putrid, evil, wicked men.
Trump had a fetish, again, this is according to Epstein, about trying to sleep with his friends' wives. That this was high sport for Donald Trump. And Epstein seemed to draw the line here. And Epstein had a story that he said that Trump used to invite the prospective wife to his office and then get the husband on the phone, but not tell the husband that the wife was sitting there listening, and then engage the husband in sex talk about who he was fucking.
Oh, come on. Do you believe that happened? Boggles the mind.
Yeah, I'm just reporting. I actually included that story in Fire and Fury.
I mean, it's so medieval. It's like the king sleeping with his subaltern's bride on the wedding night. I mean, it's really dark.
There was a scene in the early 90s, I think, and they were at a place in New York called the China Club, which was a moment in time place on the Upper West Side, as I recall. And Epstein describes Trump pinning a waitress against the bar as the room looks on.
As the room looks on. So there was an exhibitionist quality to this as well.
I mean,
it was like getting away with it quality.
I think this was this moment in time. I can only explain it like that because one cannot imagine this occurring now or even at any moment in the last generation.
Yeah. And was Trump married at this time?
Well, I think Trump was in and out of these marriages, of which Epstein was particularly involved with. There's a woman named Jill Harth, and she's made this accusation public that Trump jumped on her in Ivanka's bedroom at Mar-a-Lago.
And what was the story about when Marla Maples was
pregnant?
pregnant?
And then Marla Maples got, before they were married, got pregnant. And, according to Epstein, he and Trump spent a lot of time about how to deal with this. With Trump clearly did not want to have the child, and what were his options, what were his recourses, and how could he convince Marla Maples not to have the child, which he seems not to have succeeded in doing.
Yeah. This is getting creepy.
Yeah, no. I mean, let's get to the creepiest framing of this, which is, here are these two guys, both driven by a need to do anything they wanted with women, dominance and submission and entertainment. And one of them ends up in the darkest prison in the country and the other in the White House.
The truth behind the Epstein files. What you're not getting. The fact that they paraded out these fake media influencers with binders. They had some people take some screenshots of them, and they had them sideways. People don't know how to turn their phones the correct way. This entire thing is an absolute joke. They're not going to come out and say that Israel blackmailed the United States to give them money and to take over the power. They're not going to come out and tell you that Donald Trump did all these heinous, wicked, evil things. It's all going to be kept under the rug.